Welcome to our first virtual edition of the Southern Comfort Podcast. That's right, Kevin and I are, enjoying summers. As you can tell behind me, I'm in a remote location. I'm in
Oh my
sunny
Lord.
California, chilling. Kev, you in sunny sunshine state of Florida.
The
You know what I'm
free state
saying?
of Florida.
The free state of,
Free
yeah,
state of Florida.
that's about right. But no, man, we wanted to make sure that we continue to give you guys some Southern comfort, pour you up a glass of what we've been delivering these. I think we're like 25 episodes in, and it's been great. And so, consistency is key in this, and we just wanted to make sure we continue to deliver you some great content. Many things going on in the world of politics and Southern culture. And Kevin, it's summertime, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Summertime is filled with lots of things, vacations, but more importantly, as we enter the month of August, usually it's either back to school or you're starting to do family reunions, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing in Black culture. And so, we want to kind of dedicate this episode to talk about, family reunions. It's time for families to gather, and create long lasting relationships and memories, right? And so, Kevin, when's the last time you had a good family reunion?
Well, it's been a while. It's been too long. Sadly, I think we've gotten away from family reunions. We more so have family trips now.
Yeah, yeah.
The participation is not what it used to be. So I think the last big family trip we did was about a year ago. We did a cruise with a bunch of my cousins, but most of my family is either in Alabama or Detroit, and we used to alternate. We would either go up north or they would come down south, and then I think a couple years we even did like Canada,
Well,
and
that's right there at the border. So yeah, yeah,
right there at the border. But I can remember being a little kid, man, getting on the bus, packing in the vans, and going up to Detroit, and what it was like to welcome my cousins, seeing them come down on a bus to do family reunions, and we used to do talent shows and fish
yeah,
fries, like all
yeah.
this stuff. And people thought our family was insane because our family reunions used to go for a week. And a lot of people were like, "Oh no, we do like a weekend." I'm like, "Nah, we do like a week." And people
Yeah,
like,
no,
"The
I've
hell
seen
y'all
that.
doing for a week?"
And generally, when I thought about what we should do on this episode, I learned one thing, and I think August 25th, 1863 was called Colored American Day. Basically, it's the foundation of what we have now as family reunions, but it just celebrated the achievements and resilience of families scattered around America, right? Like you think during the slave trade, it impacted that institution of the slave trade or slavery impacted, and tore families apart, similar to
Mm,
what's kind of going on right now
mm,
with immigration.
mm-hmm,
But post emancipation, it was that urgency to bring families to try to locate one another across the country. And
mm,
that's what sparked this whole Colored American Day. And so, they put out, notices in papers and, did all they could to scour America at that time to bring their families back together. And so, now I think that resemblance of what we have all, these many years of family reunions. So when you think of it, you talk about it going for a week. I can remember with my family, and every family has this, that tree. And then that tree
mm-hmm,
breaks down, this is such and such and them, and, Maylene's
mm-hmm,
baby boy, and
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and now you're right, we have gotten away from it. I think COVID was a
mm.
big part of that. They almost helped sever what was going on. You had those virtual reunions, but
Yeah.
now when you think about it, the family is broken. And you know, on our previous episode, we kind of touched on what's going on with immigration, but even just thinking about it in terms of slavery and how the family was split apart and they tried to destroy it, but that kind of shows the resilience of Black people, right?
Mm-hmm,
Right, and
mm-hmm,
how
mm-hmm.
we forge and try to turn a bad situation and always shed a brighter light on it.
Yeah, yeah. Turn a bad situation into some good. But But it's a lot of look, it's a lot of reasons for it too. I don't think it's all just, people not wanting to participate. I mean, there's some economic factors that go with that
Right.
too. Like it's expensive to go stay places, for a week, right?
Right.
Plane tickets are expensive.
Right.
Even the bus. I remember we used to do fundraisers. It was like a year-round effort to plan and organize the family reunion, and a part of that was like fundraising. And we would sell, we would sell fish. We would sell barbecue. You had my mom's barbecue. She fire up the grill, get out there and sell some. And all of that was to raise money, and we would pay dues as well. And all of that was to raise money to defray the cost of folks being able to participate in the family reunion. So, I think, that's a part of it. And I don't know, man. People, you grow up, you start having kids and families and stuff of your own,
Shit gets
and
expensive.
it does. And what I've noticed too, because my sort of family, I'm a Harris, but it all goes back to the Marshalls, and
Because your mom is a marshal, right?
my mom is a Harris, so my grandmother
Okay.
was a Marshall. Then she got married to my grandfather, and that's what kind of started the Harrises. And but my grandmother was one of, ooh, I want to say like 18, and
Mm.
so we were like a lot tighter when that all of that 18
Yeah.
was kind of here, and they were going to also see their siblings, and they were bringing their kids and stuff with them. But as they kind of tapered off and passed away, because my uncle Marvin just passed, and so now there are only two that are left. And I've noticed kind of as that has kind of happened, the next layer down, like we don't see each other as much. Like I'm more likely to spend Thanksgiving or something with like you
Yeah. Right.
or some of my other buddies than I am necessarily like my cousins. So I don't know. I think there are a lot of factors that kind of go into that. Sometimes families just fall out and stuff like that, but it's also just not always drama. Sometimes people just kind of migrate apart, and you just end up finding new networks of family.
Yeah. It's interesting. You touched on a point earlier. Well, one, no matter, how you fall out, your cousin always gonna have your back. That's one thing.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
right. I cannot talk to my cousin for a few years. He find out I'm in the hospital. He's showing up,
Mm-hmm.
sitting down with some
Mm-hmm.
chicken. Like, bro, I can't eat that shit right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
But shout out to my cousin Morris, by the way. Morris Quentin Reed. He is one of those family members that he gonna reach out to everybody and try to keep us all. He is the new glue of the family. And you talk about how you come from a stock of 19, 18 people. That's the same with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Morris
Mm-hmm.
is the one who exemplifies that the most in terms of just trying to keep the family together and just always showing up and appearing. But one thing you
Mm-hmm.
talked on was the fundraiser aspect. I mean, you
Yeah.
find it interesting how we can come together, do stuff, as a family for like a family reunion, or
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say this, even putting books for somebody who's sitting in jail.
Sometimes.
But we can't we can't seem to support them for positive things like school scholarship, tuition, or even, that candidate that deserves it, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
just find that interesting and hard to believe, and particularly on the candidate level when you got someone such as Ayanna Presley and Cory Booker who have kind of brought back HR 40, which is the reparations bill, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was originally who originally did that? Was it Rep Conyers?
Conyers.
Yeah, Rep
Yeah. Yeah.
somewhat 39 years ago, 36 years ago, 30 something years ago, right? He introduced
Mm-hmm.
that bill.
Mm-hmm.
But you have them reintroducing it, and some states trying to take it on, like California, New York, and Illinois.
And
Uh,
Maryland. Don't
well,
don't that was
let,
yeah.
Well, let's talk
That
about it,
was,
right?
yeah, that was controversial because our boy Wes Moore, first black governor of Maryland,
Right.
vetoed that bad boy.
And what was his reason for vetoing it? I think it's like now is not the time.
It
There are other
was,
things we need to study, or
yeah, basically that we don't need a steady. This is something that's been well looked at. We know what all the causes are, and he basically said, "I'm gonna propose my own plan to deal with some of these inequities." But it was very controversial for him to do that, and it put him on the opposite side of the Black Caucus in
right,
his own state,
right,
and you know that's rare where we've ever seen that, right? It's not unusual to see a Black Caucus pushing for a reparations bill, but it is rare where you see a Black Caucus pass a reparations bill and then it go to a Black governor, and the Black governor is like, no.
right. And
And
it's
I want to be
interesting,
clear, it wasn't actual reparations, right? It was a steady. So I don't want people thinking, West vetoed
but
actual reparations.
it's also in comparison to Booker T. Washington's Atlanta Compromise, right?
Hmm.
When you really
Hmm.
think of it, Booker T. Washington saw something and he took a stance on this compromise at a convention one time in Atlanta back in like 1890s, right? And
Hmm.
he basically was saying that we don't need to fight for equality. We just need to keep our head down and work and eventually gain the respect of white people. That was
Hmm.
essentially the gist of it, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And he said it one day in Atlanta. And you bring it full circle back to Russ Moore now. It's very similar to what he was trying to do in terms of saying, oh, we just need to study it, but now is not the time. I guess he was saying far more other pressing needs than to talk about
Hmm.
reparations.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think black people just want their just dues, right? We were promised 40 acres and a mule. We were promised, equality, and yet we're still seeing, inequality across all lakes.
Well, we are, and even the promises, I don't even like thinking about in terms of promises. We earned it. We earned it.
Yeah, yeah.
We were some people use slavery, as the term slavery, but I called it forced labor.
Mm,
This was forced labor without compensation, or certainly without just compensation, you know, and we earned it, and we never got what was due to us, right? And it extended beyond slavery, and that's partially what sparked a civil rights movement. And we're still sort of navigating a lot of those headwinds today. And so all of that I think is there, but it is fair to assess, do why would we do a study now? Conyers bill is in effect the same thing. It's just a study. It doesn't prescribe what actual reparations are. It just says we should study it. And so I know a lot of people are like, there are two fronts. Number one, folks say, well, a steady, that should be easy to vote for. Why don't people do a steadies? Well, the reason people don't do a steady is because, well, if you study it and identify it, then you have to actually do something. You have to fund it. And so a lot of people won't even vote for a steady because they don't even want to open the door to it,
yeah,
right?
right.
Number one. But then there's another thought of thinking that's also prevalent, which is, uh, do we need to study it? Do we know what happened? We know what the needs are. Why can't we just do it? Which is
You know,
also
I'm not quite
fair.
sure. I'm not quite sure some of them actually know what happened. And that's
With
just,
with slavery, the civil rights movement, things like redlining and stuff, all of those things that kind of blocked us out. You don't think that that's
w-
been well
well, we know.
looked at?
I think there is a majority of people out there, those who vote, and those who don't vote, and even those who are sitting at the helm of Congress, right? Who actually
Hmm.
don't really care and don't know.
Well, and they think, well, I didn't do it. I wasn't there. I didn't do it. I don't feel like why should my
Right,
tax dollars have to pay for it now?
right.
Well, but my issue with that is you presume that this country is funded just on your tax dollars. It
Right.
isn't. It's
Right.
funded on mine and yours as well. And so I think that what would it look like? Some people have put things out there, put more funding into HBCUs. Some people have looked at housing. Some people have looked at, K through 12 education. Some
Mm-hmm.
people have looked at things like baby bonds as being a part of it. Um, and if it were to happen, right, it would more so what is most politically viable and probably what's best from a public policy standpoint and legally is you would see broad sort of investments in core areas like that. Um, but the idea that a lot of people want, which is just for folks to maybe put some economists together and calculate with inflation, what is the value of 40 acres and a mule today, and then just give me a direct deposit. that's that's probably not gonna happen. It's probably not gonna look quite like that. But it's a lot of people that think it should look like that, and they want their check. I mean, you saw how popular COVID checks were. People still talk about their COVID checks,
Right. And
them
them were
PPPs.
crumbs, right?
But they loved them, and they said, "See,
And
we should build on that."
that was a driving force about why Trump got reelected.
I mean, it was insane the amount of times you were hearing a focus group or something like that where people would say, Trump put money in my pocket, and they talking about them PPP checks. And I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it.
Say it.
I didn't apply for one, and I got a check.
Really?
I didn't. I didn't. I no.
You
I was fortunate during COVID. My work was not impacted at all, but I got a check.
you gonna pay it back?
No, I didn't pay it back.
Yeah.
I cashed that
We
bad
might
boy. If they ask for it back, but they don't.
uh,
But
we might edit that out so they don't come for your ass.
no, but why? They're not gonna do it. It's not a. It wasn't like a big amount, but it was just weird to just get a check. And I'm like, how did y'all arrive on this amount? I didn't ask or anything, and I cashed it, and everything was fine. And because usually I always owe taxes. I don't usually get returns, so it was just weird for me to get a check. I was very suspicious because I'm like, this is not usually what happens, but I got one.
Maybe somebody applied for you.
Well, they put the wrong address on there. If they was trying to use my identity to get one, but anyway, um,
If
but yeah,
now,
man.
now let's be for real. If we were to talk about what the equivalence of 40 acres and a mule would be in this time,
They ain't
what
gonna
what
do it.
what would you say that's gonna be? What like the roundabout figure? Huh?
Mm, mm, about half a mil,
Hmm. Hmm.
half a million.
Half a mil per household or per person?
I think it's per person, but I'm certain that that's probably way underselling what the real cost of it is, and that's a big part of the reason why this is not going to pass or would never pass in that form. You're
You're
not going
talking
to
about
get that
some
kind of
debt.
direct investment. Because look, brother, one of the things we worked on for a long time that's critically important in the South was like the plight of black farmers,
Yes. Yes.
who were denied loans, who were discriminated against from the USDA. They fought in the courts.
What was that
Uh,
settlement?
so I forget how much the final settlement was. I know we worked on it in the Obama administration. It was one of the things I worked on when I was in Ledge Affairs. Signed it. Obama signed it into law.
Hmm.
Then it got held up in the courts because white farmers sued and said that it was discriminating against them.
Hmm.
And so those black farmers, even though we finally got some legislation through and across the finish line, they still ain't got no money. And the percentages of farmland that's held by African Americans now is so small that there's a whole generation of farmers that experienced the height of that discrimination. The majority of them gonna be gone.
Yeah.
Um, without this issue being resolved. And so that's just a very small thing. So if you were to try to do this on a wide scale, I mean the backlash, I mean it just wouldn't happen, brother. You talk about they so sensitive now about
Books.
DEI, you know, like this oh my lord. They lose their minds.
Yeah, yeah. I think we are in a time now where people are demanding for action. Black people are basically, it seems like we're sitting on the sidelines now, ready to make our next move, but we ain't doing shit until we get something. What did Denzel say? He was like, "I knew I wasn't winning the Oscar, but we gonna leave here with something," and they
Yeah,
took
we're
it.
going
They took it off the table. You
yep.
know, uh,
He
I
took, I think, was it flowers or something? What did he take off that table?
what is the
The
centerpiece?
centerpieces. He took the
The final
centerpieces.
centerpiece.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Pauletta, the wife, Miss Pauletta,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sister Pauletta. You
Mm-hmm.
know, getting back to the Booker T thing, right? It also showed a divide. I think that we saw that rivalry between W.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
Du Bois was adamant against Booker T. I have a quote right here in my notes from Booker T. Washington. It says, "We can be separate like fingers, but work together like a hand." Basically, it's okay if we live separately as long as we can work together. Du
Mm-hmm.
Bois was like, F that, no way, right?
Mm-hmm.
We deserve equal rights right now. We want justice now. Black people should be going to college. Black people should be learning a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we should be treated no less than our equal counterparts and white people.
Mm-hmm.
And in today's modern era, right? I can speak of one guy who is trying to say the same things that W.E.B. Du Bois, and that's Killer Mike. Killer
Mm-hmm.
Mike was out there adamant about, our black boys need to be learning trades. We need even going to
Mm-hmm.
trade school because, as you see right now, all this aid and funding is being cut to all kind of technology programs and green space, and what's left? Trade, right? And there's going to
Mm-hmm.
become a time where you're going to have to learn how to be more of a labor with your hands, and plumbers are not out of business right now,
No.
right? Electricians are not out of business right now, right? They are
Mm-hmm.
going to continuously be called, and I think this argument was made some you know over 100 plus years ago, 150 years ago, and it still holds to this day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking with my wife, and it just seems like we're continuously trying to find solutions for the same problems that we've had
Mm-hmm.
in this society, be it
Mm-hmm.
healthcare, be it equality, be it women's rights. And it's like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
what the fuck are our elected officials doing?
Well, one of the things I always say, there are very few problems that government doesn't know how to solve or that we don't have a solution for. If you still see things that are not, that haven't gotten done yet, or problems that haven't been addressed, then it's really because you just haven't, the politics hasn't lined up, right? You've not figured out politically how to achieve the votes and the coalitions necessary to get that done. But we know how to do universal health care, right? How to make sure everybody has health care, right? We know how to there are different policies that we could do to give people more of a stronger economic footing and provide more economic stability to the middle class and the working class, right? Um, we know those things, right? These are well treaded policies, but politically, how do you achieve it and how do you get it done? And we have a politics that I think one of the biggest barriers is that race plays too much of a barrier in empowering working class people to have the strong kind of coalition that they need to exert the political pressure to get the things that they need, right, for us all to do better. And so, in a good example is like the Big Beautiful Bill, right? The Big Beautiful Bill is terrible for working class families of all colors, right? But how do you build a coalition to ensure some accountability on that bill
Yeah.
when a good chunk of white poor people are in support of the president that just screwed them over?
Yeah.
So how do we reverse those resources and shift them back and double down? Quite frankly, should be doing more for that, right? How do you navigate that? And a big part of what that barrier is, there is some race, right?
Right.
This
Right.
part of the reason they support this president, right, is because he channels, right, a lot of their views on race toward black people, toward brown people. They
And it,
support what he's doing with the ICE raids, even though he's taking away their Medicaid.
and right. And he's using race as an opiate to the masses.
That's right.
Right. Right.
That's right. Yep.
Just like religion, right? Blinding
Hmm.
you, and then you fall deep into your faith and your hatred for a person's skin color
Hmm.
over your own interests, your own family's interests, the right to survive and live comfortably in your day to day life.
That's right. Yep.
Um, and I feel you have to burn it down in order to rebuild correctly, and it's going to
Okay,
take.
Malcolm.
I mean, I just right like just like the grass, like you burn it down so new grass can grow. So
Hmm.
you allow the system to burn down and fail itself until those poor whites and those whites understand they're truly affected by it, and they were only blinded by their own hatred.
And you know, there was a time. I mean, you go back and you look at like indentured servants and stuff like that. They were of
Mm,
all colors and creeds. There was a time where working class folks of all races and colors um, did work together in a constructive way to advance their economic interests. And I think that we've gotten far, far from that, and that's been to the detriment of working class folks in the country. Um, and I think that it makes it difficult though to really maximize their political power in these moments when you're seeing the cost of living across the board just getting more and more expensive,
expensive, yeah,
the quote unquote middle class dream becoming less and less obtainable for people. Um,
yeah,
and there should be some real political consequences for that because government can be doing more to assist with that. But who's going to call it? So we talk about economic incentives. Where's the political incentive for a politician to stand right on the right side of those issues when you have like a Republican majority, like right now, that regularly votes the wrong way on these issues, but the same people that they just screwed over send them back to office.
send them back to office.
So
And,
where's the political incentive for them to do the right thing?
well, I mean, we touched on it in the last episode with Maria about misinformation
Hmm.
and the ability to believe. Uh, my teacher, Mr. Flanagan, used to say, "People will pee in your face and tell you it's raining," right? And their ability to take, this urine-stained belief and once again, vote against their interests and vote against, the future of their children, right? Like, and
Hmm.
their
Hmm.
grandchildren,
Hmm.
because they don't understand that what happens now has a ripple effect. And it's going to continue for, years down the line. And who knows, right? Once a rural hospital is closed,
Hmm.
the amount of time and money it takes to get that started back up, it could be, it could be 10 years down the line, but it could also be detrimental to a community and to a region.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, you know, you asked that question, right? Like, what is it going to take? So essentially, as we enter, statewide races, governors' races are coming up. and 2028, we'll start seeing people running for president. What is it
Hmm.
going to take to get those who buy into the misinformation, both Democrat and Republican, right, to start voting for their best interests?
Honestly, I think that it's so entrenched. Like you're gonna have to see like some sort of a massive political realignment, right? And those don't just happen within political cycles, right? Those are decades, generational, in the making, right? I think what the smarter strategy is, particularly for Democrats, is you got a whole big segment of the electorate that is already aligned with you, that already sees that what a lot of the Republicans are doing are not in their best economic interest. They just don't know that the Democrats are for them either. So instead of trying to persuade a certain group of folks, right, why not invest that same energy into bringing other people into the process and aligning them with the party? And when you look at, Mondani in New York, his primary win, right, it's an example of that. Now, there's not a lot that you can take from a mayor's race in New York and extrapolate around the whole country, about what the whole country is. But one thing that he does demonstrate is that you can engage and bring new people
Right.
into the process around a message centered and focused on the working class. And I think that's where we should start building and rebuilding, instead of this sort of notion that we're going to go back and persuade these people of years past to somehow see the light and now come over to our side. But that goes back to something that you and I talk about all the time on the party. It's about the party. One of our critiques is that they don't fully appreciate the diversity of the working class.
Right.
Whenever you see politicians say we're going to go speak to working class, they go talk to white people in the Midwest.
Yeah.
That's it.
I
That's what
mean,
they
in their mind, black people don't work. People of color don't work.
black people. You gonna go to Michigan. You gonna go to working
Ohio,
class Michigan, but all those black people in Detroit don't work. All the black people in Cleveland aren't the working class either, right? My uncles, who worked at Chrysler and GM, they weren't the working class,
again,
right?
it's
So.
time to burn it down, burn it down. No. I think the big lesson here is there's no single right way to fight for fairness. It's important that we keep trying. We don't forget about the ones who come before us,
Hmm.
because there's a good reminder there, that we choose to accommodate, we choose to resist, we choose to find other ways to make things happen, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that's, essentially you take both things from Booker T. Washington and from Du Bois, uh, and at ultimate, we all got to come together to make sure that we are doing the things necessary to advance the society. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
I think again, we can continue to build on this conversation, more episodes to come.
Hmm.
But we're going to bring this to a close. And it's a bittersweet closing. I think, you and I, when this episode airs, we'll be entering a week, of the death of one Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Hmm.
For those who don't know, I'm sure if you do not know, you've been living on a rock for the past, 40 years, 40 plus years. Malcolm Jamal
Uh,
Warner played
yeah.
Theo on The Cosby Show.
Hmm.
And, he drowned, off the coast of Costa Rica, enjoying a vacation. But you and I have shared the memory as there's a huge outpour of his passing on social media and just across the airwaves. I was listening to sports talk radio, and they actually dedicated a segment to him because of the impact that, he
Yeah.
represented, his life had. So with that being said, I think you and I both agree that he deserves the Mamba Award for
Absolutely.
this week.
He absolutely does, and it's very timely because we started our conversation talking about family, and this one
Mm,
definitely feels like a family
mm,
member,
yes.
losing a family member, and it's just a reminder. Reach out to your folks. Tell people you love them, you appreciate them while they're here, because you don't know. You really don't know. So, so this one hits hard because of who he was, but I just think just the suddenness of it. People are kind of foggy right
Yeah,
now, trying
yeah,
to make
yeah,
sense of
yeah.
it. But he had a beautiful life, made a tremendous contribution to the culture, man,
Positive, brother.
and
Very positive.
very positive, and people are still seeing it because those Cosby reruns are still running.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
With that, peace and love to his family. We are praying for you all. Hopefully, you can find comfort in knowing that he was so loved by this world, and definitely for the culture. So, with that being said, this is Big Rich.
Kevin Harris,
We are signing off.
peace.
Peace.